They said no disappointments while excluding me and my kids, so I sold the house they were in.
Hi, I'm Henry, 42, and last Thanksgiving I sold the house my parents were living in without telling them first, after they threw a family dinner for everyone but me and my kids. It started like a normal Thursday. Leftover lo mein, mismatched pajamas, Lily doodling on the couch, and Ben trying to beat me at Mario Kart with a confidence only an 11-year-old can carry. Then my phone lit up. Family Thanksgiving. No drama, no disappointments. I wish I could say I laughed. I didn't. I just stared. The photo showed my entire extended family crammed around my dining table, the one I hadn't seen in 2 years because I let my parents live in the house for cheap while I kept up with the mortgage, taxes, and bills. My brother Nate was grinning wide with his arm around his wife, his 2 stepkids beaming like it was the Macy's Day Parade. My mom and dad were smiling like they hadn't just texted me last week saying they were keeping it small this year. Except it wasn't small. It was just excluding. Even my parents' neighbor, yes, the guy who once borrowed my hammer and still hasn't returned it, was there. But not me, not Ben, not Lily. "Hey," Ben said, leaning in, squinting at the screen. "That's Grandma's house." I swallowed. "No, buddy, that's my house." Lily looked up from her sketchpad, eyes already scanning the photo like a forensic artist. "Where are we?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I was watching my thumb move on its own, tap the like button, and then open the comment box. I typed the words one by one, feeling my heart pound in my ears. "Beautiful. By the way, the house you're in, I own it. Enjoy your Thanksgiving there. Selling it December 2nd. I posted it. 4 minutes later, the whole thing vanished. 20 minutes after that, my phone had 97 missed calls. The first call I answered was from my mom. Big mistake. "Henry, what on earth did you just post? Are you out of your mind?" I said nothing. "You don't put family business online. That was private. You embarrassed us." I waited a beat, then asked, "Was the part where you threw a Thanksgiving in my house without inviting me also private?" Click. Next came Nate. Text first. "Bro, delete that. Seriously, you're making us look bad. It was just a caption." I didn't reply. He called. I didn't answer. Then came the voicemail parade. My dad, my mom again, Nate twice. Even my Aunt Carol called to say she hated to get in the middle, which was rich coming from someone who'd never stood anywhere near the middle. The next morning, the pounding started. Not metaphorical, real physical pounding on my front door at 9:06 a.m. I opened it just wide enough to see my parents. Nate stood behind them, arms crossed like he was auditioning for a parking lot standoff. "We need to talk," Mom said, brushing past me. I stepped outside and pulled the door mostly shut behind me. "You can't sell the house," my dad said. "We live there." "I am. It goes on the market December 2nd. You'll get formal notice." "You bought that house for us," Mom's voice jumped half an octave. "I bought it as a rental," I said calmly. "You've lived there at a discount for 5 years. I've paid the difference every single month. I paid your bills, Nate's debt, the HVAC, the prescriptions, for years. But you know what I actually owe you? Making sure your grandkids never feel like afterthoughts." Nate's voice rose. "Okay, you made your point. So what? You want us to pay more? I'll get a roommate. We'll cover the full rent. You keep the house. Done." "It's not about money anymore," I said. "It's about respect, and that ship sailed when you served pie to the neighbor while my daughter sat home wondering why she didn't matter." There was a long silence. My mom finally whispered, "You're going to regret this." I nodded. "Maybe, but I regret letting my kids think being ignored is normal even more." And I shut the door. That night, I wrote the letter. No metaphors, no emotion, just plain, dry fact. The legal kind. "Mom and Dad, as you know, I am the legal owner of the Oak Ridge property. I have decided to sell the house. It will be listed December 2nd. This letter serves as formal notice to vacate the premises. I will not charge you rent for January. Effective immediately, I will no longer cover your phone plan or monthly expenses. I love you both, but I cannot continue to fund a family my kids are not welcome in. Henry." I printed it, signed it, slid it into an envelope, drove to the house, and dropped it through the mail slot. 60 seconds of movement that took me a decade to reach. An hour later, a text pinged from my mom. "I can't believe you put that in writing. You are making us homeless over your ego. I am ashamed to call you my son." I read it 3 times, then set my phone face down and poured myself a glass of water with a hand that wouldn't quite shake. That's when my cousin Dana called. "I saw the post," she said, no hello. "Went to show my husband, and it was gone. Aunt Carol's group chat is on fire." I snorted. "Let me guess, I'm the villain?" "Well, yeah," she said. "You're being called the Grinch, the diva dentist. Nate said you blindsided them." "Did I?" I asked. "They threw a full family Thanksgiving in my house, didn't invite me or my kids, and then captioned it, 'No disappointments.'" "I know," she said. "I saw it. Honestly, I don't blame you. We've all noticed how they treat Ben and Lily. We just figured, I don't know, that you were okay with it since you never said anything." "I wasn't okay. I was just hoping they'd come around." "They didn't," she said flatly, "and you finally drew a line. Good. You're not just someone's bank account." After we hung up, I found Lily at the kitchen table, sketching. She was drawing the living room again, our rental this time. Mist-batched couch, TV, her stuffed rabbit, all of us. "What you drawing?" I asked. She held it up. "Home." One word. It hit harder than 1,000 family group chats ever could have. The rest of the week was like watching people sprint to rewrite history. My mom posted vague quotes on Facebook about betrayal and forgiveness. Nate DM'd me Zillow links to apartments that were way out of their budget, with captions like, "This is what you're doing to your parents." I replied once, "You're all adults. You can work, you can apply for places. I won't discuss the house again." He replied, "Wow, stone cold." Then a few more things I didn't bother to open. On December 2nd, Cheryl listed the house. By December 8th, we had 2 offers. I accepted the one from a young couple expecting twins. They walked through the house pointing out crib spots and imagining holidays with their family. It was bittersweet, but mostly it was quiet, solid, like something had finally ended and maybe something else was just beginning.
The day the sale went live, the group chat lit up like it was on fire. Aunt Carol, "So you're really going through with it? Selling the family home? In December?" Nate, "Wow. Just wow. You're making your parents move during the holidays? Savage." Mom, "Please don't do this. We're trying to find a place, but everything is too expensive. Just give us time. We raised you better." I didn't answer. Instead, I booked a photography session. Not for the house. Cheryl already reused the old listing pics. This was for us. Me, Ben, and Lily. Matching sweaters, ridiculous reindeer antlers, and Malik behind the camera, laughing so hard he nearly dropped it. We mailed the photo to my parents in a plain envelope with no note, just a caption on the back. "The Parkers, the ones who show up." They never mentioned it. Christmas crept closer, and for the first time in years, we didn't drive across town. We didn't pack overnight bags and fight for guest room assignments. We stayed home. "Can we make cinnamon rolls instead of turkey?" Lily asked one afternoon, chewing the end of a pencil while planning desserts like it was a NASA launch. "Yes," I said. "Can Malik come? And his boyfriend too?" "Yes." I bought a real tree, the lopsided kind you have to shim to make look straight. The kids helped decorate it with half-broken ornaments and a string of lights that blinked on their own schedule. It was chaotic, beautiful. Christmas morning, we opened presents in pajamas. Ben got the second-hand guitar he'd been eyeing at the pawn shop. Lily got a professional art kit, real brushes, watercolor paper, the works. Everything had their names on it, just theirs. No shared gifts, no play this with your cousins, no competition, just joy. Then my phone buzzed. A photo from Dana. My parents' new apartment. Beige walls, tiny plastic tree on a side table. My mom, dad, Nate, his wife, and the stepkids all posed on a sagging couch. The caption on the post? "First Christmas in the new place. Weird year, but grateful." No real ones, no drama, just neutral, like they'd erased the whole thing. Dana's text underneath, "There's a giant elephant in this room wearing your face, just so you know." I stared at the photo. My parents looked tired. Nate looked annoyed. The tree had 2 broken branches. And somehow, I didn't feel guilty. Not anymore. "Everything okay?" Ben asked. "Yeah," I said, setting my phone face down. "Just different this year." He looked around the living room, wrapping paper chaos, Malik snoring lightly on the recliner, Lily painting on the floor. "I like different," he said. So did I. The house officially sold in mid-January. I drove to the title company alone, signed a stack of documents the size of a phone book, shook hands with the young couple buying it, and handed over the keys. They were so excited. "We want to paint the kitchen," the husband said. "Maybe host our first Thanksgiving here. Something small, just us and our folks." His wife touched her belly. "Twins, due in April." "No drama, right?" She laughed. I forced a smile. "Yeah, that's the dream." Afterwards, I sat in my car in the parking lot and let myself feel the finality of it. That house, my house, had been a catch-all for years. A safety net, a resentment, a ghost. Now it was just someone else's mortgage. That night, my dad called from an unknown number. I answered without thinking. "You really did it," he said. "I told you I would." "You sold our home." "No," I said, calm. "I sold my property." There was silence. Then, "You're gonna need us one day. Family always does." "I already needed you. When I got divorced, when I was trying to raise 2 kids alone while running a business, when I asked you to make space at the table and you gave it to the neighbors." He didn't like that answer. Click. No big fight, no threats, just the same quiet ending that had been coming for years. After that, things went quieter than I expected. No more middle-of-the-night texts, no more emotional voicemails. My mom still sent the occasional article, something about brushing habits or a church bulletin, but never an apology, never an acknowledgement. And I stopped expecting one. Instead, I set new rules, simple ones. If someone treats my kids like they don't matter, they don't get my money. They don't get my time. They don't get a seat at my table. That first Thanksgiving in the rental was a test run, messy and improvised. But this next one, we planned it. Ben picked the turkey recipe from YouTube. Lily made a checklist for pies. I pulled out 2 extra chairs from the garage and added them to the table. Ben squinted at them. "Who are those for?" I said. "Anyone who chooses to treat us right. Could be now, could be later. For now, they'll just sit there." He shrugged. "Okay." We laughed. We argued about mashed potatoes. We ate too much. Halfway through dinner, Lily quietly stood up and left the room. When she came back, she was holding her stuffed rabbit, the old ragged one with the half-torn ear. She placed it carefully on one of the empty chairs and buckled it in with the strap. "There," she said. "Now it's not empty." Malik grinned. "That rabbit's got better seating than I do." Everyone chuckled. And just like that, the table felt complete. Later that night, after the dishes were done and Malik and his boyfriend had gone home with foil-wrapped leftovers, Dana and I stood at the sink drying the last few plates. The kids were in the living room arguing over which movie to watch, and for once, the sound of bickering in the background felt like music. Dana glanced over her shoulder, lowered her voice. "So, I saw your parents yesterday." I kept drying. "They're still telling everyone you abandoned the family," she added. "Sounds about right. I'm surprised they haven't printed flyers." Dana made a face. "I told them they've got it backwards." I raised an eyebrow. "You didn't abandon anyone. You just stopped paying to be mistreated." I stared at the dish in my hand. "Yeah, well, that's not the story they're telling." "Of course it isn't. You're the bad guy. It's easier than asking why their own son doesn't come around, or why his kids don't even know what Nana's voice sounds like anymore." There was a long pause. "Do you think I went too far?" I asked, surprising myself with the question.
Dana looked at me like I had 3 heads. Henry, you bought them a house. You paid their bills. You kept showing up for a family that barely remembered your kids' birthdays. And when they finally told the truth, when they said no disappointments and left you and your children out of it, you drew a line. Not a tantrum, not a public shaming, a boundary. That's not going too far. That's sanity. I exhaled, slowly. We finished the dishes and Dana kissed the kids goodbye before heading out. That night, after the kids had gone to bed and the house had settled into its quiet hum, I pulled out the photo album from the shelf, the cheap one we started last Christmas with the plastic sleeves and handwritten title, Parker Family, the ones who show up. I slid in 2 new pictures, one of Lily placing the rabbit on the chair, another of Ben making his ridiculous mashed potato judge face. 2 more moments, 2 more receipts of the life we were building, without guilt, without games, without anyone needing to prove their worth for a slice of pie. A week later, I got a letter in the mail, handwritten, formal cursive, like it had been composed with clenched teeth. Henry, we hope you and the children are well. We are settled in the new apartment. It's not ideal, but we're managing. My dad still doesn't understand how you could do this to us, but I believe in forgiveness. Perhaps someday you'll remember the value of family. Your brother is struggling to find work, and it's been a difficult transition. If you could consider sending some help, just until they get back on their feet, it would mean a lot. Love, Mom. I read it twice. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. I just folded the letter neatly, slid it back into the envelope, and tucked it into the back of the album, behind the photos, where it belonged. Not forgotten, just not in charge anymore. I didn't answer, not because I was angry, but because there was nothing left to say that had already been lived. Instead, I focused forward. I picked Ben up from guitar lessons, drove Lily to the art store and let her spend too much money on glitter paint. I joked with Malik about his terrible taste in rom-coms, and finally said yes to going out with a woman from the gym who'd been dropping hints months. Small things. Normal things. Life without the looming obligation of being the unpaid director of someone else's family drama. At school pickup one afternoon, Ben climbed in the front seat and blurted, "You know what I realized? We didn't go anywhere for Thanksgiving this year, and it was still awesome." I smiled. "Yeah? Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, the turkey was kind of dry, rude, but it was chill. No weird cousins, no rules, just us." Lily chimed in from the back, and Rabbit got his own chair. "Highlight of the night," I said. They laughed. I laughed. And I realized that laughter wasn't something we borrowed anymore. It lived with us now.
A few weeks after New Year's, I ran into Nate at the grocery store. We locked eyes over a stack of bruised avocados. He looked tired, like someone who hadn't slept well in months, and underdressed for the weather. Hoodie half-zipped, no coat. I gave a polite nod. That was it. But of course, he walked over. "Hey," he said, like we were 2 strangers who just happened to share a last name. "Been a while." I said nothing, just raised an eyebrow. He took that as permission. "So, Mom's been sick. Nothing serious, just stress mostly. But she's not herself." I waited. He wasn't done. "Anyway, they're trying to get by. Dad's working part-time at the hardware store again. They're scraping rent. You know how it is." I kept my voice even. "What exactly are you here for, Nate?" He scratched the back of his neck. "Look, I know things got weird. The Facebook post, Thanksgiving, that was blown out of proportion. You made your point, loud and clear, but you don't have to keep punishing them." I tilted my head. Punishing them? Yeah, I mean, come on. Selling the house, cutting off the help, you know they're not built to bounce back like that. I took a slow breath. "Nate," I said, "you stood in my kitchen, ate food I paid for, in a house I bought, with everyone tagged as family except me and my kids. You watched Lily get ignored. You watched Ben look around and ask why no one remembered his birthday. And when I finally drew a line, you called it punishment. His jaw tightened. You're blowing it out of... No, I'm not. I lived it for years. You dropped into that house rent-free, called your hustle entrepreneurship, and somehow I still ended up the bad guy for paying everyone's bills. He looked around, like hoping a produce employee might save him from this conversation. No luck. Look, he said finally, I didn't come here to fight. I just thought maybe you'd changed your mind. I shrugged. I haven't. He sighed, nodded once, and walked away without buying anything. I watched him go. That night, I told the kids about it. We were eating spaghetti on the couch, all three of us sharing a blanket because the rental's heat liked to quit at the worst times. Was Uncle Nate mean? Asked Lily. No, I said, just still Nate. Ben stabbed a meatball. Is Grandma really sick? I paused. Maybe a little, but mostly I think she's sad things didn't go her way. Lily leaned her head on my shoulder. Do you think they miss us? I didn't answer right away. Maybe, I said, but I know we don't have to miss ourselves anymore. By the time the next Thanksgiving rolled around, nobody mentioned the old house, not even once. My parents didn't send an invite, Nate didn't text, the family group chat, which used to ping daily with drama and memes and passive-aggressive prayer requests, had gone completely silent. Muted, maybe deleted. We planned our own thing. Lily made place cards with hand-drawn acorns. Ben made a playlist of songs he insisted were Thanksgiving vibes, which turned out to be mostly early 2000s pop and a random sea shanty. I didn't argue. The apartment was too small, too drafty, and I still hadn't fixed the one dining chair that wobbled like it had a vendetta, but we filled it anyway. Malik and his boyfriend brought sides. Dana came late, again, with half a pie and her usual sarcastic commentary. We had 3 pies total, and no one thought that was excessive. At some point, I looked up and saw Lily quietly place Rabbit in the same extra chair as last year. No big moment, no fanfare, just the rabbit buckled in, watching over us like he belonged. He did. After dinner, we went around the table. What are you thankful for? Asked Dana. Ben said, spaghetti that isn't dry turkey. Lily said, having our own holidays. Malik said, friends who feel like home. Then it was my turn. I looked at all of them. At my kids, at the paper place cards and the sagging bookshelf behind us, and the string lights we never bothered taking down. I'm thankful for lines, I said, for finally drawing one. Dana raised her glass. To lines. Everyone clinked. I didn't know if my parents would ever come around. I didn't know if Nate would ever get his act together. Maybe someday someone would sit in that empty chair for real. Maybe not. But this mess of warmth and noise and mashed potatoes that might have been glue, this was a family. Not by blood, by choice, by showing up. And this year, nobody had to wonder if they were invited.